Hello guys, it's David. I'm here at CEG. I'm going to provide a little bit of a lesson. We're going to go down real quick. It's going to be a rapid fire lesson, okay? So we're going to go over some very basic things. I'm going to run down my little sheet. This is the assessment sheet that we use before you have to graduate dice. So we're going to go over a few basic things. First is cardinal rules on a dice game, okay? So one of the cardinal rules is you never want to go hand to hand. So for example, hand to hand means either tossing checks from hand to hand or grabbing checks from hand to hand. Okay. Ideally, we always want to go through the cum, and if we need to switch checks and from one hand to the other, we put them in the cum and we grab them with the other hand. Okay. Otherwise, it's called hand to hand. Now, some casinos, depending upon where you work, you know, they kind of let you do this. It's not a big deal. Other casinos don't like it. So as far as breaking in, we'd rather you not. Okay. All right, so that's hand to hand. The other cardinal rule is, obviously, you know this one. You got to clear your hands. Okay, anytime you leave the table, you exit the table, or get on the table, you start by clearing your hands. Start by clearing hands to come in, this kind of thing. And whenever you go to your body, whenever you reach to your body in a dice game, if you bring your hands below here, you got to clear your hands to come back. You know what I mean? Okay. All right. The next thing we're going to go down to is so the other thing, obviously, you know this, you can't take checks from a player's hand. If someone tries to hand you checks, and they do this all the time, by the way, a player will try to hand you the checks and you can't take it. Yeah, you just got to take, exactly, you go like this, ask them to set it down on the table, and then you can take the money. Or you can even tell them, if they're not responding to that, they say, you know what, I can't take checks in your hands, you got to set it down on the table. That also goes for money. Anytime someone puts cash, it has to go down on the table. You can't take it from their hand. You can't take it out of the rail either, right? The one exception to that, if someone is disabled, you can take. You got to get permission, and then you have to, it's an alert. So for example, I used to have a player who was in a wheelchair and would just have a hand up here, and he, you know, you don't necessarily want to drop it because it'll go everywhere because they can't see. And so he would hand the chips into me. And I would look at the chips and I would let my box person know, or I'd make an alert, you know, $4 or $12 coming in, or $18, you know what I'm saying? So that way, you know, the person knows that I'm taking the money from the person's hand. Same thing with cash. If you have a disabled person who is putting cash at the rail, you want to make sure you get permission. And so, you know, you just clear your hands first and say, you know, cash coming in off the rail, and you know what I mean? But that's only with people that are disabled. But, you know, people that are disabled like playing dice too. I used to have a little person that used to play with me.
So you give the cash to the boxman after that?
Yeah, so I'm going to go in I'm going to do the whole changing. That's how I'm going to run down. Yep. So I used to have a little person that used to play. Really nice guy. Yeah, he's really small. He used to stand up on a box. He used to get one of the dealer boxes, or he would get a high chair, you know, one of the, you know, the poker, a blackjack table chairs. And, you know, he would sit right here, and he couldn't even get over. He was really small, so his hands didn't even reach over the rail. He was only able to manage this side of the rack. So you had to literally take the money out of the rack for him. He would tell you what you wanted to bet, and before you would do that, you cleared your hands, you'd ask him what you want, you'd let your box person know, and be like, okay, $85 coming out of the rack, right here, in the cum, put in the cum, and then set it up. Yeah. So, you know, there are exceptions to that. Okay, let's get back to the regular game. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to go over the table layout, and then we're going to get to the change here in a minute. So this is just a basic craps layout. It's missing the big 6 and 8. You'll see the big 6 and 8 at some casinos. You know, it's a regular crap table. There's some distinctions here. There's a fire bet on the outside, which isn't everywhere, but it's a very popular bet. Okay, so starting from the bumper to the pass line, this is called the apron. All right, so this always refer to the apron. So anytime you have money and you're paying someone, you want to make sure you pay it onto the apron, unless of course it's a cum bet, we pay in the cum. But that's the apron. Inside from the apron, obviously you have the lines, the pass line, the don't pass line. Bar is bar 12. It tells you it's a push 12. A lot of people call this the don't pass bar because they see that there, right? Then of course you have the field. The only difference with some casinos is the field, some places pay triple on 12, not just double. This layout pays double, and in fact, Texas Station, when it opened, actually did pay triple. So this is a misprint. That's why we got this layout, because this should have said pays triple, because they pay triple. Okay. Everything else is pretty much the same. The cum bets, and then of course you have all 6 numbers here. These divots aren't on every table either, so these divots help you establish where someone is placed on the game. This is position 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, and the dealer bet very often would be here. Okay, actually it's for whatever number the dealers are bet for, it's actually the position closest towards the box person. So this would be a dealer 4, right? Some places, if there's a bet for the dealer, it'll be right in front of the bet if the player has the same bet. So if the player has a 6 and 8, for example, and you bet a dealer bet, it'll be right in front of their bet, so you know which player gave you that bet, right? The problem with this is this looks like a come bet too, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes this isn't the best place to put it. This is why we make it. If it's a place bet for the dealers, we just put it there. You know what I mean? Okay.
What if you have more players that bet for the dealer?
You just stack it up.
Stack it up?
Sure, why not? You know, it's all the same thing. If it's all the same bet, if it's like, okay, here, if someone throws you another down and says, put that on the dealer 6, dude, boom. That could be from 2 different players and just thank everybody for the bets. And sometimes when you just thank everybody, even if they're not betting, then they start
will
betting.
next.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Hey, thank you for that dealer bet. They were like, no, that wasn't me, but maybe now that it is. You know what I'm saying? Okay, good. All right, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to go over cash buy-ins, and we're going to go and check buy-ins. So there's a couple ways to come up to the table. In fact, here, let me address one other thing. You'll see where it says no call bets. That's important on most crap tables will have it say no call bet. So what that basically means is you can't call out a bet. You have to have money in the rail or cash in hand to make a bet on a craps table. Back in the day, cash used to play. You can't play cash at most casinos in Las Vegas, but that used to be a thing, right? People would walk up to a table and say, hey, give me $100 in the field. And you as a dealer might go bet. That's called a call bet. Okay, most casinos don't like call bets. Unless you have the cash or the chips, the checks in the rail, you can't book the bet. So if someone does come up and call out a bet, you say no bet, okay? Unless you know the player. If you know the player,
It's one of the high limits players.
that's exactly right.
Nothing you can
They got
do.
a $100,000 credit marker. They walk around like they own the place, and they call up bets all day long. Those bets, you know who those people are typically, and you got to take those bets. Okay. Same thing on Blackjack and other games. They're like, hey, give me $1 million on, okay, that might not be it. All right. We went over cutting checks. We're gonna go over the table. Oh, let's finish going over the layout. Okay, this is a puck. Puck has 2 statuses off and on. It's used to mark the point, and it establishes the default status of the bets in play, whether off or on. Okay. When it's here in the don't come bar, you're coming out. When it's on a number, you have a game in progress, and you mark it as such. You make it no towards you, on towards the player. Okay, so that they know that this is on. Okay. The next thing you have is your working stacks. Okay, working stacks of checks, starting from aces. You're always going to need aces. Even on higher limit tables, there's still some dollars at play, especially when it comes to proposition bets, right? You leading up to the higher value checks, getting closer to the box person. You notice how I use these posts, so I like to give myself plenty of room, okay? You should try to keep these stacks about a stack high. A stack meaning 20 checks or so, 20 or 30 checks. As soon as you have enough to put back, so let's say I get up to, this many, I will put back a full stack, into the bank. We'll go over the bank here in a minute, but now I want to leave myself enough. This might not be enough, so I might want to continue building this up. All right, but we don't ever want to get it up to the point where it's competing with our rail, and then it becomes a big mess. Okay. Now you also have a working area. This is your working area, so to speak. All right, like the shuffle pad on a blackjack table. This is the area that you have to, figure out stuff, break down bets, bring in money. We'll go over all that. But this should be cleared up after every roll. So between rolls, you should be actively putting these checks away and not leaving anything here, so that this is all reset. So when you get to the next roll and you're dealing with a new set of bets, you have a new set of bets that you're clearing or proofing or whatever. Okay. The other area to proof bets is the box person's area, which is sort of this area here where the box person sits. Sometimes you won't have a box person, but let's say, for example, someone brings in color. Color is one of these things that have to be proved, and these are brought into once you get approval. We'll go over that later, but this is the kind of thing that you bring into the box person for the box person to break down and prove. Okay, all right. So this is the box person area. All right. We're not going to go over the props. We're going to go over cutting checks.